The Oklahoma Sooners had yet another amazing weekend between baseball, softball, both winning their series. Softball taking a sweep in their second SEC series. Baseball winning their first SEC series, their SEC debut series. Big time weekend over there on both diamonds, both the mound and the circle over there for baseball and softball. And then, of course, both basketball teams as well. Big time news for them, as we knew the women were going to get to the NCAA tournament. There was no question about that. They've been phenomenal, outstanding, wonderful all season long. But the men's basketball team kind of stole the spotlight just a little bit because they had to fight their way in. And so apologies to the women's basketball. Congratulations to them. But men's basketball also made it, which was huge news. First time in Porter Moser's tenure at Oklahoma. And we're also going to give away the Sooner Spotlight of the Week. Stick around here on Sooner Spotlight. Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of Sooner Spotlight. Very excited to be here live with you on a Monday, I guess afternoon, evening, however you want to consider whatever 6:30 is to you. But I call it a good time because we get to come here and talk about the Oklahoma Sooners, and we get to talk about a great weekend, a weekend that we got to see a lot of really good things from several different teams from the Oklahoma Sooners athletics. I'm very excited to get into it, talk about it all. But first, as always, make sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you're joining us live, jump in the live chat. If you're not with us live and you're watching this after it's done being live, that's okay. You can still comment. We love getting to the comments, answering your guys' questions, all kinds of fun stuff. Share it. Follow us on social media and share it on social media as well. You can follow me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at RealJoshMahler, and join the show over on Instagram. That's at Sooner Spotlight. Very easy to find us over there. We try to post as much as we can over there. It's kind of a small team over here for this podcast. So go give us some love and then share it with your friends. Share it with Sooner Nation. Help us keep on growing. We have a lot of big things in stock. I'm very excited for this upcoming weekend, being able to go and go see and cover men's baseball. I guess really there was only one baseball, but being able to get down to Norman and be able to cover baseball, it's going to be a lot of fun. Great team over there. If you're not a baseball fan and you're an Oklahoma fan, go support these guys. But anyways, follow us on social media. And I want to remind everybody that this the Sooner Spotlight is a part of OU Insider, a member of the OU Insider content lineup. Go check out OUinsider.com today, get signed up, and become a member of one of the greatest OU sports communities, one of the best communities for fans to get in there. It's not just something, I know a lot of people kind of harp on OU Insider because why would I pay to go and see something that the news might break later on? Well, first of all, you're paying for more inside information about that news, what went on behind the scenes. There's a lot of insiders over there that do a really good job with that. You have different things like what I know. What I do over there is cover baseball, and there's Jesse does a great job with softball. Brody Lusk, one of the best for covering basketball. We're going to have to get him on the show before the tournament goes on as well, so stay tuned for that. I know we weren't able to get him on all because of me and my schedule, but weren't able to get him on before the SEC tournament. Big time stuff happened there for the Oklahoma Sooners, but go check out OU Insider. I can sit here and tell you about it all day, but the best way is just go subscribe to the OU Insider YouTube channel if you haven't already. And if you haven't checked out OU Insider, go over there and look at it. You can access some things for free, but I'm telling you, I think it's totally worth it to support a community and be part of a community where you can interact. You're not just reading stuff, you're interacting with other Sooner fans. It's a great place to be. If you're an Oklahoma fan, OU Insider is the best place to be. So go get signed up today, become a member of the best OU sports fan community out there at OUinsider.com. But let's go ahead and get into it. We didn't come here just to sit here and talk about nothings all day, but we have to keep the lights on. So let's get into it first, talking about Oklahoma baseball. Like I've said in the past, I think we usually start off with baseball just because I feel like it doesn't have as big of a crowd. So we get that out of the way in the beginning when people are still filtering in. But personally, I have fallen in love with this baseball team this year more than I ever have in the past. A couple years ago, they made it to the College World Series in Omaha, had a great run there, made it all the way to the national championship, and fell short against Ole Miss. And it's all been this. I'm trying to think of how many years it's been now. It's all been because of what Skip Johnson is doing with this squad. An amazing team, an amazing squad that goes out there And this weekend, I know they dropped a game. We're going to talk about that. But they show their resilience. And we've been talking about that. That's going to be the key. That's going to be the theme for this year. Just resilience. And seeing the resilience of this Oklahoma baseball squad, because they've been in some tight games. And they've won those tight games more often than not. And funny thing is, if you guys have been watching, help me understand this, but has it not seemed like the weather kicks on when Oklahoma, and I saw this in softball this past weekend too, does weather not affect Oklahoma just a little bit more than the other team? We saw this with DBU when Oklahoma baseball lost to Dallas Baptist University. I felt like the wind really kicked on really hard when the Sooners were at bat, but not as much. It was still windy, no doubt. It was windy the entire game, but I felt like there were times where it was much less windy for Dallas Baptist, where Oklahoma would have some great hits that look like they're out of the park, and somehow it blows it back in. This past weekend, there was a little bit of wind factor, and that was definitely part of it. You saw that affect really both teams. But the thing that got me the most is whenever Oklahoma really needs to kick it on, we really need a big time. I think it was about the 7th inning. It started raining really good, and it was just pouring down rain when we've got Dylan Crooks on the mound. And you could tell, I feel like that affects pitching more than hitting. I know it affects hitting as well, but it's got to affect the pitching more, and it was just downpouring. Then South Carolina gets up to the mound, and it just felt like the rain stopped. You could see the sun come out. Just throwing that out there. It's not an excuse. I just thought it was funny, because I feel like a similar thing happened with Dallas Baptist, and then Oklahoma softball. We'll talk about that in a little bit. I felt like the wind was really kicking on really strong against Oklahoma, and it seemed like it helped Arkansas a couple of times. Really funny stuff, and no excuse. And you know what? The Sooners still found a way to win both series. Both softball and baseball. We're going to start off with baseball. Big time series. Game 1, winning it 8-5. Really good game again by Kyson Witherspoon. We're going to say that all season long because if this guy's on the mound, he's phenomenal. He's great. He's so much fun to watch. This might have been his toughest game so far, and obviously it was his toughest game because of it being an SEC opponent, and a very good SEC opponent in baseball as well. South Carolina is no joke. They were ranked coming into this game, I do believe. You know what? They might not have been ranked. I'm looking at the score sheet, and they don't show a ranking here. Some polls I know had South Carolina ranked. Regardless, they came in with 15 wins on the season, looking really good. 15-3 coming in on the season, coming into this game. Looked like a really good team, looked like a really sound team, really solid. They got some dirty players over there, but you know what? I respect it. Sometimes you gotta have that goon on your squad. And I know there was a lot of shade thrown over at Ethan Petrie. And yeah, I think there's a time and place for certain things. There were certain things that I could call out, but I'm not here to do that. I saw a lot of Oklahoma fans not too happy with him. I know he was one that was being brought up. I'm trying to think of who else it was that I saw quite a bit of reaction to. But you know what? Every once in a while, if you've ever been in sports, if you've ever been a sports goer, if you've ever been an athlete, and sometimes you get so competitive that you just let that competitive nature take over just a little bit. And it's not saying that it's right. You know what? It felt like Oklahoma kind of got their revenge, and ultimately they got their revenge by winning the series. First game, they ended up winning 8-5. Looked like a really dominant performance from Oklahoma, and it really didn't kick on for South Carolina until the 6th inning. They had 4 runs in the 6th inning. Started to make it feel a little uncomfortable, but Oklahoma still had a good lead. Got an extra insurance run in the 8th inning to really put themselves out there by 3. And I wrote an article for this game, and somebody said, is winning by 3 really edging the other team? Well, I mean, when you consider that this was a very close game for much of it, much of this game, I mean, there was a point in time where Oklahoma was only winning by 2 runs, even 3 runs. In that 9th inning, all it takes is one good smack out of the run with a couple runners on base, and South Carolina's up. So, yeah, I consider this Oklahoma edged South Carolina out of that game, first game. I thought it was, if you were watching the game, it was much closer than what a 3-score lead really leads to, what it looks like on the scoreboard. So I get that I say things sometimes that may sound a little absurd, but I know what I'm talking about. And it was definitely Oklahoma coming away with a much closer game than what it looked like on the scoreboard. And again, Kyson Witherspoon, great. I know I brought him up just a minute ago. He pitched 5.1 innings, allowed only 6 hits in just over 5 innings. He did allow 3 runs. Like I said, this was his toughest game yet. Most offensive-heavy team that he's faced yet. He didn't face DBU, if memory serves me correctly. We didn't have him in at all against Dallas Baptist. So this was the heaviest hitting team that he's had to face. And only allowing 3, it wasn't a bad game at all. And again, he had 7 strikeouts in this game. He had a really solid game. It's just, again, when you've got an offense that's as strong as South Carolina, you're gonna let some things up, and he did let up the 3 runs. But Kyson Witherspoon, again, another solid performance from him. This is a guy that's going to make it to the league one day, I think. He's obviously getting a lot of eyes on him from scouts. And Dylan Crooks was able to get the save down. He only pitched 1 inning, just in that last inning, and did not allow a hit, did not allow a run, obviously. Only 1 walk. He did have 1 strikeout as well in that inning. Just an incredible closer, and it shows even more in that 3rd game. We're going to get there. But that 3rd game, man, if you were not watching that, go back and just rewatch the entire game and feel your blood pressure rise and lower so many times during that game. Felt like it just kept on rising and rising until Oklahoma took the lead. Then it just froze and kind of went from there. But anyways, just I absolutely love Dylan Crooks. I don't think he gets enough love in the position that he's in because he might only come in for an inning, but he closes it out beautifully every time. For batters in this one was in one of those games where I think it didn't seem like there really was a single standout one guy that really seemed like he took the entire game. I will say the entire series. I'm giving the standout player to Jason Walk. I think he performed really well. He went 1 for 3. He did get 2 runs in. He was walked once. So he went 1 for 3 in this game. Ultimately, looking around too, I think Easton Carmichael, a sure guy at bat. He was only 2 for 5, but ended up getting 2 RBIs. So I really liked what we saw from him. Some really good stuff. And overall, not a whole lot, not a ton coming from a single batter in this game, but it was just a well-rounded performance from the offense overall. Going into game 2 real quick, this one will be pretty quick and simple because Oklahoma just did not look good. It felt like everything was going against them. There was a lot of things that were questionable, very much. Really, this entire series felt like the umpires were you could question them quite a bit. Malachi Witherspoon ends up getting credited for the loss. Wasn't a great performance from him, but he didn't do terrible either. He walked 3, did allow 6 runs and 7 hits, pitched for 4 innings. It was just a shaky game for him. I feel like he started off the first couple of innings pretty hot, shutting him out in the first inning. Second inning, not so much. 4th inning is really where it started to get a little shaky. That's when things started to get out of hand. Got to make the change. You got to switch it up. You end up putting Michael Catalano in there. Didn't pitch for very, very long, only 0.1 inning. And then went to Gavin Jones, pitched for 2 innings. And then we also had Reed Hensley and Jackson Kircher. Just overall, this just felt like a game where the pitching staff could not get ahead and couldn't slow the bats down for South Carolina. They ended up dropping game 2. And the reason why I think game 2, and I'm not going to be too specific about it because, again, we didn't get much on the board. We didn't do much of anything good in this game. Ultimately, it just felt like a lot of things went wrong for Oklahoma where they should have gone right. And I didn't have the errors in front of me, but I know we had some errors in this game that just really killed Oklahoma overall. Yeah, you've got to do better, and it's a game that I'm okay dropping that second game because if you lose 1 out of 3 and you win the series, you win 2 out of 3, you win the series, you move on, you're still looking just fine. You're okay with dropping 1 game of each series if you can close it out, and that's exactly what they did, and that's where we go ahead and just jump on to game 3. Again, go back and watch game 3. If you didn't get to watch the entire game, go watch the highlights, something, and just watch how great this squad is and how calm and collective they are. It didn't matter how many times they struck out at bat. Game 2, you could see when they were getting struck out or getting fly outs, you could tell there was frustration in game 2. Game 3, they kept their cool. The entire time it felt like, just wait, Oklahoma's got something hiding. I felt confidence the entire game. The entire game watching through, it was nerve-wracking for sure. It came all the way down to the 9th inning, tie it up, and then pushed it into a 10th inning where Jason Walk has an amazing home run, and ends up stealing the game with that home run. Dylan Crooks, great coming in to save the day again. He ends up getting credited with the win. Dylan Crooks actually had to pitch for 3.2 innings. I didn't hear, I should have done my research beforehand. I didn't hear what happened with Cam Johnson. Cam Johnson came in there, threw only two batters, and didn't look good. He walked one and hit another. So it didn't look good. But I'm not sure why Skip changed out so quick. Cade Crossan came in, pitched in for 4.2 innings, allowed 2 runs, and it was time to switch out, go over to Jason Bowden. Did pretty well, allowed 3 hits, only 1 run, only one strikeout to speak of. But Dylan Crooks came in there, did his thing. It got a little sketchy at times. Like I said, the weather just seemed like it was against Dylan Crooks. The weather was pouring down rain on Dylan Crooks, and it felt like it lightened up. And I wasn't there in person down in South Carolina, down in Columbia, so I'm not sure if that's the case, but it really seemed like the sun came out when South Carolina was on the mound. Something about the weather just seemed to hate the Oklahoma Sooners this weekend, but he got the job done, and Dylan Crooks closes it out through 3.2 innings, allowed only 4 hits, 1 run, and the big one that I've got to give it to, because the entire weekend it felt like Jason Walk, the leadoff batter, kept on finding a way to get on base, and there in the 10th inning, bombed one out for a homer. Beautiful, and it just felt like that's what we needed. That was all we needed. Had a little bit of momentum where it seemed like Oklahoma might be able to secure themselves with a little bit of an insurance on a few more, but they weren't able to get any more runs in, and Dylan Crooks closed it out. 3 straight outs, I believe all fly outs, and just a beautiful job done again by Dylan Crooks closing it out. I don't think he gets enough love because he's the closer, and that's what he does so well. Obviously the aces are the ones that get all of the attention, it feels like, but this pitching staff is so deep, very, very fun to watch. And I do have to give a little bit of a shout out to South Carolina's Dylan Eskew. I felt like in Game 3, Dylan Eskew had a very good game, and keeping Oklahoma in check really the entire game. It just felt like Oklahoma couldn't get anything going. They finally got something going on Brendan Sweeney. Close out the game to get themselves a win in an extra inning in the 10th inning. So great time, great series. That Game 3, something you've got to go back and rewatch if you haven't watched it already. And if you haven't watched it, or if you have already watched it, go back and watch it again because it's so much fun. And that's the kind of resilience that you love to see from the baseball squad. But let's jump over to the Oklahoma softball team, because around Oklahoma, we love our softball team. We love what this softball team can do week in and week out, just nonstop. It's incredible watching how amazing these girls are, and seeing what they're able to do, because every week they come out there, bats are flying, and knocking these balls out of the park, and they just did an amazing job going on the road in your first SEC road series and closing it out. Not just winning the series, but sweeping a very good Arkansas team, an Arkansas team that was ranked 15th, I think, in the D1 softball rankings, and it might have been 12th in the Softball America rankings, if I remember correctly, but right around that range, top 15 matchup, and you go in there on the road to an environment that seemed like it might be hostile, and it turns out a lot of that red was really Oklahoma's crimson shining out there in the crowd. Huge shout out to Sooner Nation for showing up for women's softball too, a sport that a lot of people, I feel like still a lot of people don't recognize how amazing this sport is. I fell in love with softball, I think Oklahoma softball more in the beginning before I really fell in love with even baseball. That's the truth. I love baseball now. I think this year, obviously with me covering baseball, it's been a lot more enjoyable for me to do a little bit more with baseball. But softball still, it's so much fun, and it's the energy that those girls put into it. And Oklahoma lost something like 13 players. I'll have to double check on that number, but they lost something like 13 players, and still somehow were managed to pull away and have a team as good as this one. What Patty Gasso is doing is just phenomenal. They brought it up on the broadcast as well, how Patty Gasso was kind of quoted for saying something along the lines of, we're not a team that's going to hit the ball as well as we did last season, but we can still get it done. And they told her, Patty, your team actually has more runs so far this season than they did at this point in the season last year. She said, really? Oh, it doesn't feel like that. And I agreed with her. It didn't feel like they were as good, but it really, I think a lot of it comes from recency bias and just looking at what Oklahoma did in that first weekend and what they did in that first weekend. It was very slow. It started off slow, and it didn't look like this was going to be the same squad. Sam Landry, and so fun to watch her get back into it this weekend. Let's go ahead and start off with game one. Number one, Oklahoma comes in 24-0, 23-0 coming into it. Improved to 24-0 after winning game one. And you've got to look at Nelly McEnroe-Marinas. We're just going to call her Nelly because that's so much easier than going through the entire last name. But going 2 for 4, get two hits, 4 at bats, and getting herself 2 RBIs. That was the big one of the day. Out of 7, I mean that's what you get. You had her; she was really good, and overall, it's watching these girls be able to get walked and be patient and take balls and take those when they need it late in the game. That's what I think a lot of people are recognizing about this Oklahoma squad. Yeah, they can hit the ball really well. They can score RBIs really well. They've got girls like Nelly, even Cassidy Pickering, Gabby Garcia, Elena, Sydney Barker. Who else? Go down the list. Sydney Sanders is known to have a heavy bat. Isabella Emerly. Every single one of these girls on the lineup. Ella Parker, obviously, she might be the biggest hitter. She didn't have a great weekend. Ella Parker didn't, but still, this is a squad that is known for the heavy bats, the bats that can just nail one out of the park anytime. But what we're recognizing this year is just their patience and being able to get walked in crucial moments. Just get on base. That's all you got to do. You don't have to hit a home run every time. If you get on base, guess what? If somebody can hit a home run, we're scoring more. It's easy math because now 1 + 1 = 2 instead. How about that? Isn't that fascinating? But ultimately, I think in game one, Nelly was the standout to me. Just a really good game from her. And Sam Landry throwing a shutout in game one. So Oklahomans up winning 7-0 there in game one. Phenomenal job from Sam Landry. Absolutely love watching her pitch. She is. I think she's stolen the hearts of Oklahoma fans. She's by far the favorite pitcher to watch on the mound because she's able to do so much. Only 4 strikeouts, but she only allowed 3 hits the entire day. Walked 1. Just a great, and again, a shutout from Sam Landry. So love watching her on the mound. Love watching what she's able to do. Phenomenal job. They moved to 24-0 on to game 2. End up winning that one 6-4, a little bit closer. This was one where I felt like Arkansas was really finding some things. They were finding ways to come in there and find a way to get on base. They were finding ways to get hits and just swinging the bats a little bit more is what it really felt like. Just they knew that they were going to probably strike out a couple of times, but they were going to try. And in fact, Kirsten Deal 5 strikeouts, 4 walks. Again, finding a way to get on base. That's what Arkansas did really well in game 2, and that's why it was such a close game. But Kirsten Deal with 4 innings, allowed 5 hits and 4 runs. It was time to switch off, and Isabella Smith came in. She got credited with the win with one inning pitched. Did not allow a single run and got 1 hit. Allowed 1 hit from Isabella Smith. Really good to see her, and I think she's progressing a little bit more every time that we see her in the circle. And then Sam Landry came in with the save. I believe the two innings. Allowed only 1 hit, no runs, no walks, 1 strikeout in that inning, in those 2 innings. So Sam Landry again showing her dominance. That was a really great game. And again, Nelly with a big time game, 2 hits, 3 at bats, and 2 runs. She got herself in for 2 runs and 1 RBI. And one that I think stood out for the entire weekend, and obviously from you guys, it was Gabby Garcia. She also got 1 hit. She got herself an RBI in this weekend. But I think what stood out the most was Gabby Garcia in Game 3, where the Sooners improved to 26-0 with their 3rd straight win in this series, taking the sweep. Big-time game. Again, I thought Nelly was amazing, and we'll get to that. Nelly went 2 for 5 in Game 3, got herself 4 RBIs in that game. But Gabby Garcia, 3 for 4, 2 runs, and 4 RBIs in that game. Just huge, and I believe Gabby had 2 home runs. I think that's why she took this. She shined very much this weekend. was because of her big time performance in that game 3, where it was much tighter. It felt tighter in this game. At one point, I think it was 5-6, and Oklahoma pulled away in the 4th and 5th, and then we're able to close out in the 6th and 7th, where Isabella Smith started it off, allowed 2 hits and 3 runs. And then we had Peyton Monticelli come in. She looked really good in this third game here. She stepped in, was able to secure the win. She was able to be credited with the win with 1 inning pitched, only allowed 1 hit, no walks, no runs. Really good inning from her. And then Kirsten Deal came in to try to close things out. It seemed like there was a rhythm going here. Let's just switch them out, 1 inning, and then we went to Kirsten Deal, kept her in for 2.2. She allowed 3 hits, 4 runs. It was time to pull her out. She walked 2 as well. And Sam Landry comes in, finishes it off. Only got allowed 1 walk. She got herself 5 strikeouts within 2.1 innings and only allowed 1 hit. An amazing performance from Sam Landry, being able to pitch again in this series. So heavy arm, strong arm from Sam Landry. I love watching her. She's so much fun to watch, and I'm sure you guys enjoy her too. She was one that I wanted to throw in there on the Sooner Spotlight poll, but I didn't know where to go with it. There was too many Sooners to throw in there. I feel like we need to widen that up to like 10, run like 4 different polls or something. Open that up to 10 of them. But yeah, it was a lot of fun this weekend being able to watch these girls come away with a sweep, big time weekend. And again, so game 2 was 6-4 win. Game 3 was a 10-7 win. Big time wins for the Oklahoma Sooners and showing up loud and proud. As well. Shout out to you guys as Sooner Nation. If you guys were there, I heard you on the TV. You guys did a great job being loud for this team, and they deserve it. They absolutely deserve it. So shout out to you guys for anyone that was able to travel and go watch this squad play. So much fun to watch them. They're a great team. Another team that you've got to get out and watch if you haven't already. I don't know what you're doing if you haven't. But let's go ahead and move on from softball, because we also had a couple of big-time news breaks. We're going to start off with men's basketball. They stole the show this past weekend. We knew that women were going to get in. We didn't know exactly where they were going to get seated, but we wanted to see where Oklahoma men's basketball, and I've got the women's pulled up right now. Let me pull up the men's. Oklahoma men's basketball gets into the seeding chart at 9 seed. Very high when you look at who's below them in their records. I saw some kind of complaining that Oklahoma's a 9 seed, and who was it that there? I saw somebody really complaining pretty hard about Louisville. Of all teams, Louisville's an 8 seed. How is Oklahoma a 9 seed? Oklahoma went 6-12. What was it in conference? Had a terrible conference record. It's because of what Oklahoma did in the non-conference. If Oklahoma didn't have such a strong non-conference schedule and wins, big-time wins, and closing it out with wins against, with Mississippi State being one of those big-time wins, they've got a lot of quad 1 wins, and that's what stands out the most. Beating Texas there on the last game, beating Georgia in the SEC tournament, that was big. Hanging in there really tight with Kentucky, who's a very good team. Hanging in there tight with Kentucky, not once but twice in 2 games, very close to each other by 1 point. 1 point, both times against that Kentucky squad, who's a very good Kentucky squad. Glenn Taylor just seems like he keeps on getting the best of us. Gotta love it for him. Don't love it for Kentucky. Gotta love it for him though. And that's ultimately what mattered the most. There's seeing what they were able to do, and pull out really tough one against Kentucky. And I think the thing that stands out the most is seeing Jeremiah Fears step up in the biggest time of the year when they should have given up after LSU. Sooner fans gave up on them after LSU. You lost against an LSU team that you should not have lost against, and you let them get the best of you, and that was frustrating. But this team rallied. They had some big time wins after that loss. They rallied together, and big time wins, big time performances from Jeremiah Fears in the last 7 games. He's averaging 22.7 points per game. 22.7 points per game in college basketball. 5.5 assists, 4.5 rebounds as a point guard. He's a small dude. and 1.5 steals in the last 7 games. He's been playing lights out basketball. He's been playing like the draft prospect that he is. He's been playing the way that he ought to be playing, being as hyped up as he is. And I know a lot of people, Jeremiah Fears is kind of overrated. He was overrated, I think, when you take a look at some of his bad games and seeing what he did in a couple of these games. But at the same time, Jeremiah Fears was on the court by himself, it felt like, most of the season. And it felt like most of the season, Porter Moser wasn't doing anything to help him out. And finally, Oklahoma comes out there. They were able to get a big-time win against Georgia to close out in that SEC tournament. I feel like that really locked them in. They were probably still going to make it in, especially since they were 9 seed. I assume they were probably going to make it in still, even if they played close with Georgia and lost. But they beat Georgia. And then they go on and they play a tight game against Kentucky. And then, of course, with where they're at now, they're in a very tough spot in the bracket too. If you guys haven't had a chance to look at the bracket, Oklahoma starts off against UConn, went 23-10, the same UConn team that we know that it's going to be tough to beat them. I like the optimism that I'm seeing from some Sooner fans and from some covering the Sooners. I'm sorry, but I can't share the same optimism. I can't, because I know this UConn team is capable of some very big things, and I'm just going to leave it at that. It's going to be a very tough game. But Jeremiah Fears and Jalen Moore and who else? Bryson Goodine, Dayton Forsythe stepping in and being physical. I really like what we're seeing from Northweather as well. Seeing him step in there. And then how about Wagi? I'm not sure if I'm saying his name right either. Wagi. I know they were saying it wrong the other night. I think they were saying Wagi, or I can't remember what they were saying the other night, but I know it was frustrating a lot of Oklahoma fans. You got to admit, his name's not easy to pronounce, and I always forget how to pronounce it, so apologies. I know I'm probably pronouncing it right, or I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, but anyways, him stepping in whenever Sam Godwin was out, and honestly, I think we're looking like a better team without Sam Godwin, and I hate to say that. I really do. Hate to say that, because I like Sam Godwin. I know what he's capable of, and I know he's capable of being a very good player. Can Oklahoma come out and be that underdog team and be a Cinderella team to come out here and beat UConn? I don't know. But they're on fire right now. They're hanging in there with some of the best in the nation, hanging in there with Kentucky's, hanging in there with who else have we played close against here recently? So many games this season, playing against very tough opponents and hanging in there close with them. Getting blown out in a few games as well. So we gotta recognize that. But this is not the same team as we saw right in the middle of the season, where we started seeing them lose to Texas A&M, what was really a blowout by Texas A&M. Losing big to Alabama, losing big to Auburn. This isn't the same team as we saw back then. They're hanging in there and beating a Georgia team. They're hanging in there and really having a chance to beat a Kentucky team twice. Hanging in there and beating a Texas team, who's a tough Texas team. I'll give them that. There's so much more. So I think this Oklahoma squad has a chance. And I think they have what it takes to beat UConn, okay? We're gonna touch base on this game a little bit more, but if they beat UConn, they're going against the winner of Norfolk State and Florida. Most likely Florida, who's damn near one of the best teams in the nation right now. I'd say Florida, Tennessee, Auburn, Alabama. Those are your sucks to say it's all SEC teams, but those are your 4 best teams in the nation right now. Doesn't mean that they're going to make it to the Final Four. I don't even know where they line up. I haven't really dove into the bracket very deep. I haven't made my brackets yet. I'll make some brackets and share them with you guys here. Send me your guys' brackets too. Send me if just go follow me over on X. That's at Real Josh Mahler. I think that link is down in the description. My handle's down in the description. Send me your guys' brackets. I'd love to go through your guys' brackets and see who you guys have in the Final Four. And maybe we'll go through and do kind of a bracket show as well. So make sure to send those in to me. If not, you can always email them to SoonerSpotlightPod@gmail.com. So that's SoonerSpotlightPod@gmail.com. You can send them over there as well. I'll try to get through there and see which ones you guys have in the Final Four and everything. We'll do a little bracket show. So make sure to send those over to me. But anyways, Oklahoma, very tough road ahead. It's not going to be easy. But I mean, so if they get through Florida. Let's say they get through UConn, they get through Florida. That we're dreaming at this point, okay? There's no way they're making it that far. I don't think there's a possibility they make it to the Sweet 16. If they were able to turn on some kind of Sooner magic and make it to the Sweet 16, let's see, you're going against, man, still some tough teams. Memphis, Colorado State, the winner of that one, winner of Maryland Grand Canyon. Yeah, they're in a very tough bracket. The more I look down through the rest of what they've got, very tough bracket. But we can dream. We can dream. Let's get past UConn and see where we stand after how good we can play against UConn. This is a tough UConn team. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Like I said, I'm gonna get Brody Lusk on the show to go through with us, and we're gonna talk about the Sooners basketball squad in the NCAA tournament. But also have to give a big shout out to women's basketball, big time run in the SEC tournament. Got to give them a shout out. Some great playing towards the end. Reagan Beers, how can you not love watching her play? I know women's basketball is not as big as men's basketball. It's not as widely known. I think they get a little bit better support in Norman, though. It's not the case in Norman. Even softball. I think softball gets more love than baseball. I love to see this for women's sports. I really do. I know some people just don't enjoy women's sports as much, and I get it. But Oklahoma's got some really good women's sports teams. Women's gymnastics, phenomenal. Women's basketball going into the tournament ranked really high, ranked 3 seed, I believe. Let me pull that one back up real quick. I had that up a second ago. They're ranked a number 3 seed. So they've got a pretty good matchup for them as well. So I think this is going to be really good for Oklahoma and seeing what they can do. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see where they end up. It looks, hey, I'm dreaming here. I'm dreaming just a little bit. But how amazing would it be for Oklahoma to make it all the way up to where they end up going against Oklahoma State, and what would that be, the Final Four? I'm just dreaming things up. Would love to see that matchup. Let's cheer on Oklahoma State and Oklahoma to make it, and they'd match up for the Final Four matchup. I believe that's the Final Four. I might be wrong on that one. That might be the Elite Eight. So I'm trying to break this bracket down right. That might be Elite Eight or Sweet 16, but regardless, they could make it in to where they're going against each other. So that would be a lot of fun. I'm excited to see that one, see where that one ends up leading. But that's going to be a lot of fun. Like I said, send me your guys' brackets if you want to send me a women's bracket as well, and we'll go through both of them. I'll give you guys my 3 brackets. That's what I do every year. I give one where I just speed through it, mark down what feels right. Do one where I mark down what I want to happen with a little bit of realism. And then I do another one where I really break it down and give my true feelings after I look a little deeper and do a little bit of research. So I'll do 3 brackets. We're going to do a bracket show here soon. So make sure to send those over to me. Again, you can send them to me, DM them to me on, I guess, Instagram or X. They're down there at the bottom of the screen, so you can check that out. You can send those to me. I'll go through your guys' as well and see which ones I like, see which Final Fours I like. And if you guys put Oklahoma making it to the Final Four, I'm gonna make fun of you. Okay, I'm going to support you, and I'm going to cheer for you and tell you I love your bracket. But I'm also going to make fun of you because you're being a little delusional, and I like it. But that's pretty much all we've got. We do have one more thing, actually. We've got to bring up our Sooner Spotlight of the Week. If you guys don't know what this is, I apologize. I actually forgot to get this out on YouTube I guess, last night. I forgot to get this out on YouTube for a poll on YouTube as well, because I know some of you aren't on social media with us. So make sure to go follow us over on X. Follow me on X. That's where I post the polls every Sunday, and that way we can bring them up here on the Monday night shows. But, so we put up the Sooner Spotlight poll this week, and we had 4 that we chose. I really wanted to put Reagan Beers on there as well. She was another one. It was really hard to pick just 4, but we were only putting 4. That's all that X allows us to do. We put Jeremiah Fears up there. Jeremiah Fears ended up having, over the span of the 2 games in the SEC tournament, putting up 57 points, 7 assists, and 10 rebounds against Georgia and Kentucky combined. Nellie McEnroe Marinas ended up going 6 for 12, 6 runs, and 8 RBIs on the series, the weekend series against Arkansas. Gabby Garcia going 5 for 11, 2 runs, 7 RBIs in the series against Arkansas. And again, I think she really stood out because of her big-time performance in Game 3. And then Jason Walk. I wish he would have gotten a little bit more love than he ended up getting. That's the guy I really wanted to give it to. I wanted to just say, forget it, we're going to pick it ourselves. But this is one that we're allowing Sooner Nation to vote on. I don't agree with your guys' decisions here. But Jason Walk, he had a great performance this past weekend. He ended up having the go-ahead homer in the 10th inning. He went 1 for 2, 1 home run, and 2 walks in Game 3 versus South Carolina. Really all weekend long against South Carolina. He did phenomenal. Absolutely loved it. Jason Walk was my pick for Sooner Spotlight of the Week, but it was voted on by you guys. You guys did have some votes come in for Jason Walk. It looks like some of you guys are paying attention to Oklahoma baseball. The same amount of votes came in, 28.6% went in for Jason Walk and Jeremiah Fears. None for Nelly McEnroe Marinas, which I even spelled wrong on there too. I'm just now realizing that I missed the R, at least on the poll part. But no votes for Nelly. That's 2 weeks in a row that she's been on this poll, and she didn't win when I think she's been the best softball player out there. But Gabby Garcia had a big-time win. She was the big-time player. Recency bias gets the best of all of us. Gabby Garcia ends up pulling in 42.9% of the votes, bringing in the Sooner Spotlight of the Week. We will make sure to get a post out there for Gabby. Congratulations to Gabby Garcia. Sooner Nation has been watching you, Gabby, and Sooner Nation loves you. We're going to make sure to get a little post out there for recognition for Gabby Garcia on a big-time weekend for her in the big-time series against Arkansas, the second SEC sweep series sweep. Trying to think, how do you say that? The second, that's a lot of S's. The second SEC series sweep for the Oklahoma Sooners. Undefeated. They're 26-0 now. Number 1 in the nation. And if Softball America, I haven't looked today, if Softball America poll still has them at number 2, we're getting somebody from Softball America on the show to just explain to me why Oklahoma would not be your number 1. This doesn't make any sense at this point. I don't care that Texas just now handled Florida. That doesn't matter to me because they still aren't undefeated like Oklahoma. And of all teams, Texas is the only one we don't want above us. Texas is the most hated that we do not want above us. Jumping over to the chat real quick. I saw that some of you guys tuned in there. I guess Boomer Sooner, he says, where you see that Sooner. So, Sooner Cowboys. He's the one that chimes in the chat. He says, Porter Moser could be headed to Villanova after this season. Then he says, OU baseball with a nice series win over South Carolina. Yes, big-time win over South Carolina. I haven't seen anything on Porter Moser. Maybe I'll have to ask Brody Lusk if he's heard any rumors. And where those rumors are coming from, I'm not sure, but I would love to hear the sources. But anyways, guys, we thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure to show us some love over on social media. I'm on X at Real Josh Mahler. You can follow the show on Instagram at Sooner Spotlight. Just check us out over there for all updates on the show and so much more. And then, of course, join OU Insider. We are part of the OU Insider content lineup. So go over to OUinsider.com today, get signed up, and become a member of the greatest OU sports fan base community out there. Absolutely great stuff over there. Can't wait for this weekend. I will be in Norman at the Sooners baseball game. So if you're there and you want to meet up, go hang out, maybe go get a drink or something, let me know. I'll be down there in Norman. Very excited to see everybody down there. It's going to be a fun time. But that's all we've got for today. We want to thank everybody so much for tuning in. Show us some love over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast by giving us a follow and a 5-star review over there. And you can find everything that we do at Soonerspotlight.com. You can also get some merch over at Soonerspotlight.com, something like this. I guess you can't see it too well from the microphone and the overlay, but Baker Mayfield playing a flag shirt. That's my favorite one. We have all kinds of merchandise over there. That's the best way to help us support us on the show. So go check us out over there. And again, join OU Insider today to keep in on all the scoop and keep yourself updated on all Oklahoma sports. But we thank you all so much for tuning in. We'll catch you next time. Boomer.